I would note in the President's State of the Union, he also announced the American people can order more tests. So there, we obviously want to meet that demand. Given how costly COVID has been, with so many of our fellow Americans hospitalized or dying and our daily lives disrupted, we simply cannot afford to wait on investing now and keeping people protected. Also, just wanted to give you a preview of the week ahead. On Tuesday, the President will travel to Fort Worth, Texas, to speak with veterans, caregivers, and survivors about addressing the health effects of environmental exposures such as burn pits. Obviously, he talked about this priority in his State of the Union address earlier this week. It's part of his unity agenda for the nation. He supports legislation that would expand access to health care and benefits for veterans affected by these exposures during military service, and he was encouraged by the passage of a bipartisan bill in the House just yesterday. Wednesday evening, the President will deliver remarks at the Senate Democratic Caucus Retreat. On Thursday, sorry, I'm going to sneeze at some point. On Thursday, just wanted to not scare anyone. The President will welcome the President of Colombia to the White House to celebrate 200 years of positive diplomatic relations and consult on a range of regional and global issues of mutual interest. During their bilat, the leaders plan to reaffirm the bilateral relationship and discuss COVID-19 response, future pandemic preparedness, economic recovery, and regional responses to migration. That evening, he will deliver remarks to the Democratic National Committee members at their winter meeting, and on Friday, he will travel to Philadelphia, where he will deliver remarks at the House Democratic Caucus Retreat. I would note that Friday is also when we will be marking the anniversary of the American Rescue Plan. I'm sure you will all be celebrating with us, voluntarily or not. So we look forward to that. With that, Colleen, why don't you kick us off?
Thanks, Jen. So President Biden has promised that there's going to be no American boots on the ground, and he's also acknowledging that the war in Ukraine is going to impact pocketbooks. We see, especially with what happened last night with the nuclear facility in Ukraine, no sign of Putin stopping, and in fact, he's telling Macron that he's in this till the end. So I wonder what makes the administration confident that Americans are willing to, pay for the price of Ukrainian liberty, especially if this is going to drag on for long. And then I have a separate question.
Sure. Well, to be very clear, and I think you all heard the President convey this in his speech the other night, the reason why we are seeing volatility in the global oil markets, the reason why the price of gas is going up is not because of steps the President has taken. They are because President Putin is invading Ukraine, and that is creating a great deal of instability in the global marketplace. So what we are trying to do, and what the President is focused on doing, is taking every step we can to mitigate the impact of that. Obviously, he announced the release of more oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, did that in a coordinated way. We have a range of options on the table we are considering. But where we are at in this moment is certainly we are taking steps to stand up for democracy versus autocracy, stand up to the actions of a brutal dictator. But it is because of his actions that we are in this circumstance.
One other question on the Supreme Court reinstating the death penalty for Boston bomber.
Yeah.
I wondered, I know there's a moratorium, on the death penalty the DOJ has put in place, but are there any other actions planned or any other steps taken to keep the president's pledge to end the death penalty?
Well, the President certainly supports the Attorney General's decision to issue a moratorium on federal executions while it conducts a comprehensive review of the practice. And that practice and process is ongoing. And the President has expressed before that he has deep concerns about whether capital punishment is consistent with the values that are fundamental to our sense of justice and fairness. Obviously, I can't. This is a case that the Department of Justice could certainly speak to, but I would just say that President expressed horror at the events of the Boston Marathon bombing at the time. He believes that Tsarnaev should be punished for responsibility in the murder of 3 innocent people at the marathon, for wounding dozens of others, and for his role in killing 2 police officers who were attempting to bring him and his brother to justice. And he knows the deep pain that his crime caused. As the President said at the 1-year commemoration of the bombing, quote, "I know that no memorial, no words, no act can fully provide the solace that your heart still yearn to acquire. He has made clear, as I noted, his grave concerns about capital punishment as implemented, but he respects the process and the ongoing review that is being led by the Department of Justice and the Attorney General. Go ahead.
Thank you. Overnight, we saw the Russians attack this nuclear power plant last night. The U.S. Embassy in Kyiv noted on Twitter, it is a war crime to attack a nuclear power plant. Putin's shelling of Europe's largest nuclear plant takes his reign of terror one step further. So just to be clear, is it now the position of the U.S. government that Putin has engaged in war crimes?
Well, we have an internal review that's been ongoing prior to last night to collect evidence and data of the targeting of civilians, of the reported use of horrific weapons of war on the ground in Ukraine. That's an ongoing process. We have not made conclusions. It's a legal review and a process that goes through the administration. What I will say is that the intentional targeting of civilians or civilian objects would be considered a war crime, even as we are assessing that. Regardless of the legality, this action was the height of irresponsibility. The Kremlin must cease operations around nuclear infrastructure, and we have, of course, remaining concerns. I would note that just on in the developments that have happened overnight as it relates to the nuclear power plant, I mean, obviously the Russian government's actions were extremely reckless and dangerous. They could have posed a profound threat to the safety of civilians in the region and beyond. We do applaud the ability of the Ukrainian operators to keep all 6 reactors in safe conditions while under attack, and to report as they were able to the nuclear regulator, which certainly was helpful. As you know, last night the president not only spoke with President Zelensky, he also spoke last night to the head of the National Nuclear Security Administration for an update on the situation at the plant. So that is a piece of positive news for the moment. But we remain concerned, of course, about the fact that they have clearly taken